Welcome back to After the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and Israel Adesanya just absolutely ran through Paulo Costa. I mean, a lot of us thought that this was going to be some fight of the year. I know that's what Dana thought. I thought that personally, Paulo Costa was going to give him his most serious fight to date, and a real test. And I mean, when you talk about those multi-strike combinations of Paulo Costa, they weren't there, man. I mean, the only thing landed was a couple body kicks, and you got to give so much credit to Izzy Adesanya chopping him down with the calf kicks. And eventually, once he found that home and he hit him with that nice little shot behind the ear, that was all she wrote, man. So that was easy work. I thought it was going to be the serious fight, and it wasn't at all. It was just pure domination, and it just goes to show the kind of greatness that we're dealing with a guy like Izzy Adesanya. Now, I got two very special guests joining me here today. First up, I got my man, Rob Brown Betting. Y'all know him, famous handicapper. He's been doing this thing for years. Someone I respect. He's over there in the UK doing his thing. We got my boy, Rob Brown Betting. And then also, I got my 21-year-old phenom, Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead, undefeated as a pro, 21 years old. Pro debut coming up early 2021. The fight IQ is off the charts with this kid. We both really enjoyed watching these fights tonight, so let's get down to business. Rob Brown Betting, this is the first time you make an appearance on Half the Battle or After the Battle, and I think this is the first time that most people have even heard you talk. I know you got the Kermit icon. What's going on, Rob Brown?
Well, what's up, Dan? It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. I've been listening for probably 2 or 3 years now, and feeling good after a win, and excited to be on the show, man.
The pleasure's all mine. And Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead, my 21-year-old phenom, like I said, one of my best friends in life. Love this kid. How's it going, Jahmar?
It's good, bro. How are you, man?
I'm doing fucking fantastic. But the question is, how are you?
Hey, man. It's always a good day when you're the fucking rock star.
That's right. You enjoy the fights tonight?
Absolutely, bro.
Awesome.
Head to toe, they were really, really good.
They really were, weren't they? So let's get right down to business. So, I mean, look, this main event here between Izzy Adesanya and Paulo Costa. I mean, I know from Rob's perspective, because he bet on Izzy, he thought it was going to be this easy work. But, we're going to get to your opinion in a sec. I want to know if it was even easier than you thought it would be, because, I know you maybe thought that you'd have to sweat that first round, but there was no sweating any points of that fight. I mean, it was really just Izzy Adesanya, establishing the jab, but mostly the calf kick. That was the big story of the fight. And it seemed to me like Paulo Costa, I don't know if he was trying to kind of pace himself a little bit, trying to save, his energy for the later rounds. If he was trying to, maybe piss off Izzy and make him take an unnecessary risk with all that taunting. I mean, look, the things that Paulo landed were a couple hard body kicks, no doubt about it. But aside from that, I mean, it wasn't the same forward pressure that we were used to. It wasn't the same punches and bunches, because I know people like to act like, oh, he's just some brawler that wings a couple overhands. But dude, when you watch these fights, he's throwing 10-punch combinations. I don't think he even threw a 2-punch combination against Izzy Adesanya. So I think we're looking at a true all-time great here in the last style bender, Izzy Adesanya. Rob Brown, what do you think, man?
Yeah, man, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I wasn't going to sweat that first round, but yeah, like you said, way easier than I expected it to be. Once Costa started taunting, 2 minutes in, you could tell he started getting frustrated way too quickly, and once he started taunting, I thought it was over. And then, like you said, them calf kicks, he just got way too frustrated way too quickly. And after that, it was over, really. He couldn't really land anything.
And I mean, man, that one shot behind the ear, you already knew the deal. He wasn't getting back up from that. And, Izzy had all the right in the world to celebrate big time, especially with the kind of heat, the intensity going into this fight. I know part of it, sell the fight and get everybody excited. But, at the weigh-ins, look, listen, I know it's theatrics and all, but they got pretty heated with that little exchange where he gave him a white belt and, Izzy threw it right back at him. And you knew that there was so much pride on the line in a fight like this. So to see an emphatic result, because going into it, I was trying to do the whole thing where it's like, you guys know I don't like to talk about well, if they fight 10 times, who's going to win? You know, I like to be right the one time that they fight. But I really truly thought that this was going to be one of those fights where it was like these two could have a rematch. These two could have a trilogy. This could truly be a rivalry for the ages. And after tonight's performance, I'm not convinced of that anymore, Jahmar.
I mean, I never really understood how this fight could be in any question not going for Adesanya, because I mean, this is a guy who just went on his 100th fight. This is what, Costa's 13th or 14th fight. That's always been my opinion on the fight. But going in, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, of course, you know, just like a fight day, you know, you get nervous. So, especially because I did a little bit of betting myself. So, seeing them walk out, I got nervous to see the first round, like you guys. But it was after seeing Paulo Costa taunt Adesanya 2 or 3 times in that first round, I realized, yeah, Adesanya's got this all day. He was, like you said, Costa wasn't throwing anything. It was almost like he was blinded by being in the fighting for a championship fight for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Didn't really know what to do, and then you're fighting a guy who's arguably the best in the UFC right now. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. And look, I felt like Izzy, he's so quick-witted. He had the perfect counter to the taunting, because when, you know, Costa started making the faces and he started doing all these things, I don't know if you guys recall, but there was a very subtle thing that Izzy Adesanya did. He said to him, Yoel Romero, because you guys remember the Yoel Romero fight where Yoel refused to throw at him. And I feel like he broke Costa in that moment when he called him Yoel Romero, because basically what he was saying was, you're scared to fight me right now. And for a guy like Paulo, who's got the kind of pride that he's got, and, you know, he's the eraser, you know, he's the Brazilian with the big muscles, you know, all these guys fall to his punches. I felt like that kind of maybe broke the bully a little bit, and then he still didn't throw anything after. So very bizarre performance. But when I say things like bizarre performance on Paulo's end, that's not discrediting the greatness of Izzy Adesanya, the perfect game plan, coming out there, immediately immobilizing him with those calf kicks, and just such an efficient and effective performance by Izzy. He took no damage. I mean, one doesn't simply fight Paulo Costa and walk out without a scratch on their face. And that's exactly what Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya did, man. So, God, it's just like one of those things where, you know, I was thinking, man, you know, 2 undefeated guys, this is going to be an all-time war. So at the betting line, I was thinking, hey, maybe it should be, you know, a pick 'em with a slight lean on the champ. I mean, even Vegas opened at -140 for Izzy Adesanya. That's the kind of respect that they had for Paulo Costa, but the public was actually sharp in this spot, and they took it to close to 2-1 for Izzy Adesanya. So when I saw, you know, the +165 on Costa, I was like, listen, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know when you give me these kind of odds on a guy like the Eraser who's going to fight for your money, I got to take the shot. And I got to say, he didn't fight for my money tonight in Abu Dhabi, Rob Brown.
Yeah, I disagree with you a bit in a bizarre performance, because I know I did listen to your show, obviously early in the week, like you always do. You had a few things to say about Uriah Hall lighting him up with a jab, like, and I think like that was quite a bad sign. I know it was a while ago, and he had a quite impressive performance against Romero since, but the Romero fight was actually one of the main reasons I picked. I bet Izzy, sorry, at -160, because after round 1 there was just so many openings, and he clearly slowed down, and he clearly lost round 3. So I just thought, like, if you fought a guy who's going to make him guess and trick him with feints, he'll get frustrated, and that's what happened. I'll admit, I didn't expect it to happen that quick. I didn't think he'd get frustrated that quick, and I did think there was a legit risk of a knockout in round 1. But yeah, it was the feints and just the level of technique, I think, that baffled him on the night. But yeah, quite a baffling performance still. But I think just the level of the technique just fuck with him. I think he's just too inexperienced at this point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I mean, the thing that impressed me in the Costa versus Romero fight was this. I mean, we can all agree, yes, he did slow down. However, you don't see these guys going after Yoel Romero the way that Paulo Costa did. Oftentimes, you know, I mean, no one really beats him that often, but the guys that do, they got to tip and run. They got to play it extremely safe. So the fact that Paulo Costa said, fuck it, threw caution to the wind, went right after Yoel Romero, I found that extremely admirable. And I know that Yoel, who's, you know, this absolute tank, he survived it. I wasn't convinced that Izzy was going to be able to survive it, but he wasn't even able to get off on half of that work against Izzy, man. It was truly credit to the last style bender, Izzy Adesanya. So before we move on and answer a couple fan questions about the main event, Rockstar, any last things you got to say about Izzy versus Costa?
Absolute world class for style bender. I think style bender definitely showed the difference between a championship level and a contender level, if that makes sense. I don't really see who else really challenges Stylebender at this point. And for Costa, I think he has to have a lot more experience before he fights for the title again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's got to go out there and start beating some of these guys like the Robert Whitakers, the Jared Cannoniers, the Jack Hermansons, the Darren Tills. And if he's able to do that, then we can talk about another title shot. But for Izzy, let me pull up the rankings real quick and see what could potentially be next for the great Israel Adesanya. So right now, according to the rankings, they got Whitaker number 1, who he already beat. They got Paulo Costa number 2, who he already beat. And then they got Jared Cannonier. So that's what I want to see next. Now, if Jared Cannonier is able to get past, the former champion Robert Whitaker, that's the next fight for Izzy Adesanya. He even said it himself. He publicly admitted that he believes that Jared Cannonier is the dark horse in the middleweight division, and that's who he wants next. So are you guys with me that if Jared Cannonier gets past, the always dangerous, the always tough, the former champion, and the former Ultimate Fighter winner, Robert Whitaker, that Jared Cannonier could be next in line for the great Izzy Adesanya, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like him in that matchup as well. Definitely a unique threat.
You like who in the matchup? Sorry.
Cannonier.
Okay, so you think Cannonier might be the guy to dethrone the great Izzy?
Oh, sorry. I like him in the Whitaker fight, but I think he's a unique threat to Izzy. Definitely.
Yeah, man. It's funny. And Izzy's actually been showing Jared Cannonier a lot of respect. He's saying he's the dark horse of the division. He even said some things like, sometimes little bro's got to beat up big bro. And Jahmar, I know those words ring home with a guy like you. So what do you think about the prospects of a fight between Jared Cannonier and Izzy Adesanya?
Man, that's the next fight to make for sure. I didn't even think about that guy. He's kind of running under the radar in a way. Cannonier, of course, and yeah, that he's a monster, bro. He's definitely a monster, very explosive. I mean, this is a guy who's beaten Anderson Silva just as one name, but he knocks out a lot of people. I know that.
Jack Hermanson as well.
Yeah, but I'd rather see Cannonier fight.
No. I'm saying Jared Cannonier knocked out Jack Hermanson as well.
Oh, really? I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. So he's been putting in work, man. He's been doing his thing. And what's interesting about a guy like Jared Cannonier is that he started his UFC career at heavyweight. He was fighting all these guys. Actually knocked out the French guy, Cyril Asquer, then drops down to 205 pounds, beat Iwan Kutalaba. Now he drops down again to 185 pounds, and now he's a top 3 guy. So it's amazing to see his transformation, and I feel like now we're truly seeing the best version, the most scary version, and potentially a title challenger worthy version of Jared Cannonier, Rob Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So, gentlemen, we also got to talk about this co-main event because Jan Blachowicz went out there and defeated Dominic Reyes. And you guys, if you heard half the battle, you knew I had some choice words to say about Dominic Reyes, man. man, anytime he opens his mouth, I'm like, it's always face palm. He's the very, very cringe. The guy ain't the brightest. And it's one of those things where after that John Jones fight, it's like, look, he gave John Jones a great fight. No doubt about it. Won the first 2 rounds. But as you guys know, in a 5-round fight, winning the first 2 rounds does not mean you won the next 3 rounds. And I feel like he was hanging on to that, acting like he got robbed. And, then he's underestimating Jan Blachowicz. How could a guy that lost to Pat Cummins beat me in a fight? And I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't show up, because that would be discrediting Jan Blachowicz. But, man, Jan Blachowicz went out there, man. And I love the combinations. He started busting up that body like from the jump. And as you guys know, even back in Jan Blachowicz' UFC debut against Ilir Latifi, where he stopped him with a body kick, it's nice to see him go back to his bread and butter. But now he's mixing up his combinations nicely. It's not just, a bunch of inactivity and then one big body kick. Now he's throwing his punches. He's mixing in his kicks. He's got some takedowns too. But, the legendary Polish power that he always talks about, people used to, or even coming into this fight, people were completely discrediting it because they were saying, oh, he just beat, Corey Anderson and Luke Rockhold, big whoop. Who hasn't knocked those 2 out? But to me, it was more so than that. To me, it's the composure I'm seeing, the maturity, the fact that, sometimes for these guys, they truly have to have a couple fights inside the octagon to truly get their feet wet, to feel like they belong, to feel like they're the man. And I feel like now he's riding on supreme confidence, and he's a UFC world champion. Rockstar.
Yeah, man. He looked great tonight. I don't know if you guys saw Reyes' nose. There wasn't much to see left. You know what I'm saying? It was completely shattered. It was, man, crazy to see. And his rib too. I've never seen a bruise like that quick in a fight. You know what I'm saying? I think Jan looked great though, man. For the 205 division, I see his biggest threat being the number 2 ranked guy, Thiago Santos. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the guy, obviously, to fight next. That's a good fight. I think that's a perfect fight to make right now. Hopefully, Thiago Santos is healed up and ready to go. But yeah, Jan looked great tonight. I love the combos. Really clean Dutch combos. You know what I'm saying? Very hook. I don't know how to explain it correctly, but very Dutch combos. It was very clean. It was very, very good to see.
What do you mean you don't know how to explain it? He
my
threw hands and he
hook,
followed
right
up with
kick,
kicks.
when you're turning it all the way over, using the momentum of your shoulders and your hips when you're turning, makes sense. Dutch combos.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful. But look, speaking of Thiago Santos, what's interesting is, they might have a little bit of a rivalry because Thiago Santos actually is the last man to beat Jan Blachowicz. He actually beat him by knockout. But right now, Thiago Santos is booked up with Glover Teixeira, and I could totally see the winner of that fight getting a title shot. See, what I think is going to happen right now, boys, is this is going to go back to the golden days of the light heavyweight division. What I mean by that, do you guys remember how the light heavyweight division used to be musical chairs? It went from Chuck to Rampage to Forrest Griffin to Rashad to Machida to Shogun. And then all of a sudden, John Jones, stays the champion for about a decade. And then he finally said, you know what, you guys can have the belt and have fun with it. I've cleared out the division. So now I feel like it's going to go back to that because there's all these different guys that can come out here, win the belt on any given night. You got Jan Blachowicz, who a year ago, if someone would have said he'd be a future champ, people would have laughed in your face. You got Jan Blachowicz, you got Thiago Santos, Glover Teixeira, Alexander Rakic, and then there's some up-and-coming guys that I'm kind of high on too. I think Jamal Hill has a lot of potential. Now, while he's not in the conversation right now, I think down the line he can be. I think he's got that kind of potential. And just looking at the rankings right now, when you talk about the top 5 or the top 6, it's the guys we already mentioned. It's the Reyeses, the Thiago Santos, the Jan Blachowicz, who's the champ right now, the Glover Teixeiras, the Alexander Rakics. And then I think one guy that's flying under the radar is this kid, Yuri Prohaska. So I think there's so many options for the champion, Jan Blachowicz, and I truly believe that they are going to start playing musical chairs at 205, Rob Brown.
Yeah, man. So I actually drank the like a lot of people. Drank the Dominic Reyes Kool-Aid a bit in this fight. I actually agreed with the odds. Thought it was an accurate line because he was obviously really impressive against Jones, and I thought at least for the first few rounds, Blachowicz had really struggled with the range, but from for the first few minutes, it looked like Reyes was pretty much outmatched. So pretty surprising. And I tweeted straight after the fight that I think Blachowicz is one of the most improved fighters I've ever seen watching MMA. And I know that might sound like an exaggeration, but honestly, to be honest, a few years ago, I thought it was kind of like a bum, to be honest. But now, like, he's made serious improvements. And yeah, light heavyweight's wide open now. Yuri, Ankalaev, it's a fun division now. I'm excited to see how it evolves. Definitely.
Oh yeah, you mentioned Ankalaev. I didn't mention him. That's a great example too. And even I know you're not as high on this kid as I am, but I do like Jimmy the Brute Crute, and the reason I bring him up is because he's only like 22 years old. He's just a kid. Give him a couple years, maybe you could see him up there, because right now we don't have that John Jones anymore where it's like no one's got a snowflake's chance in hell to beat him. Right now, like I said, we're going to go back to those golden days where this belt is going to be switching hands back and forth. Hey, and that's not to disrespect Jan Blachowicz, who went out there and, the reason I'm so inspired by a guy like Jan Blachowicz, let me pull up his record real quick, and I'll tell you exactly why I'm inspired by Jan Blachowicz. You guys mind if I do a quick little screen share? Let me show you this real quick. So, okay, check this out. You guys can see his record on here? Can y'all see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, check it out.
Yep.
So this is how he starts his UFC career. Beats Alir Latifi, first round TKO body kick, right? Then he loses to Jimmy Manuel. Then he loses to Corey Anderson. Now, before I show you the rest of the stuff, you want to know something really cool? You want to know the sign of a future world champion, the sign of someone that's making improvements, gentlemen?
Steroids.
A good doctor? No. He avenged both of those losses, okay? Both of them. I mean, look, what was the score in the Jimmy Manuel fight? Let's take a quick look. Jimmy Manuel 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. So Jimmy Manuel beat him pillar to post. Now, what happened when they rematched? Let's check it out really quickly. Now it's Jan Blachowicz who's getting a 30-27 in there and is dropping him in the fight. The Corey Anderson fight, the first time. What was the score in that fight? 30-25, 30-25, 29-26 for Corey Anderson. What happens when they rematch? Jan Blachowicz gets a knockout in the first round in 3 minutes. So that to me is the big sign of improvement. But before we get to those rematches, then he had this very sketchy fight with Igor Pokrayets, and he lost to Alexander Gustafsson, and then this is where it got really embarrassing. Lost to Pat Cummins, and as you can see from April to October, which was his next fight with Devin Clark, something changed in between then. And he even admitted he got a new doctor, and he starts calling himself Jan 2.0. He starts doing the whole bit. So now you see the kind of run he's on. Goes in there with Devin Clark, and Devin Clark's kind of a prospect tester. Well, Jan Blachowicz finished him, got a performance of the night. Goes in there with Jared Cannonier, drops Jared Cannonier, destroys him. Rematches Jimmy Manuwa, defeats him soundly. Goes in there with Nikita Krylov, welcomes Nikita Krylov back to the UFC, because if you guys remember, Nikita Krylov had left the UFC after the Misha Serkunov fight, goes on a big run, then he enters the UFC again, gets finished by Jan Blachowicz. Then he ran into Thiago Santos, who, by the way, is, top 3 all-time knockout artist in UFC history. Look up the numbers. Then he goes in there against, former champion Luke Rockhold. And look, before you guys say, oh, Luke's got no chin, going in the fight, people were saying Luke was just going to get on top of him and smash him, and that was not the case. It was Jan Blachowicz that did the smashing. Has the 5-round fight with Ronaldo Jacare Souza, and the only reason it was a split because, look, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Otherwise, it's a clear unanimous decision. Rematches Corey, knocks him out, finally makes it to that elusive title shot, capitalizes against the guy that many people try to act like he beat John Jones, which you and I both know between you and me, gentlemen, he did not beat John Jones. But yeah, man, Jan Blachowicz is the world champion now, so it's a beautiful thing to see. So before we move on and before we start to answer a couple fan questions, if you had to name one person to challenge Jan Blachowicz for his next title shot, who would it be? I'm going to let you each answer that. So, Rob Brown, who is the one guy you want to see Jan Blachowicz fight next for his first title defense?
It's going to have to be Thiago Santos, isn't it? If he gets a spectacular finish against Glover. It's a bit of a worry of his layoff with the knee surgeries, but if he knocks him out quick, it's going to have to be Santos, really, isn't it? Hopefully in the future, Jiri challenges though, because I really want to see that guy fight for the belt.
Yeah, this kid Yuri Prohaska, you know, when you come into the UFC with over 30 pro fights, that's as experienced as you can get. And yeah, I'd love to see that as well. And Rockstar, I mean, do you agree? Is Thiago Santos the guy you want to see Jan Blachowicz be challenged against, or are you thinking an Alexander Rakic? Are you thinking Yuri Prohaska? Are you wanting John Jones to change his plans of going up to heavyweight, maybe rethink things, try to get his belt back? What are you thinking, Jahmar?
I assume, knowing John Jones, egomaniac, he's going to want to, come back, beat up Jan. Jan called him out, I'm pretty sure. I couldn't hear it too well. I don't know if he called him out in particular, but I know he called somebody out. But, yeah, so I'm sure John's going to want to come back and try to get his belt back. If not, then, I'd like to see Santos. I think Santos is definitely the next guy up. If for some reason, if Glover beats Santos, I don't think Glover really deserves a title shot. I'd like to see Rakic fight before him.
You don't think that if Glover goes out there and submits Thiago Santos, that's not a title shot worthy statement?
Well, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's coming off of a big surgery. You know what I'm saying? Like a big layoff. His last fight was against John Jones. John Jones is
who? Sorry, who?
Thiago Santos.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I'm saying? I think no hate on Glover, of course, but another win against maybe a top 5 guy again, that solidifies you a title shot for sure.
But I will say this, just in his defense, just to kind of play devil's advocate, I mean, he absolutely ran through Anthony Smith in a way where people were feeling uncomfortable watching that beatdown because it was a pillar to post ass whooping. And if he can parlay that with an upset win over Thiago Santos and he gets on the mic and calls out Jan Blachowicz, I mean, I feel like he's got a good case. But I do agree with you. There are options. That's what's so beautiful about the light heavyweight division today. But on the flip side, I know that you're 100% correct about the ego of a guy like John Jones, and he might rethink things and be like, dude, like, this guy's just, keeping my belt warm for me, and maybe I can go out there and become a 4-time UFC light heavyweight champion. So, because no one officially dethroned the great John Jones. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the few champions in UFC history that wasn't truly dethroned. He cleared out the division and said, here you guys go. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you, Daniel. Where do you think this puts Reyes now? Who would you like to see him fight next?
Fantastic question. So with Reyes, so he already fought Volkan Oezdemir, and it was kind of a controversial fight. But you could see him in there with the loser of the Thiago Santos versus Glover Teixeira fight. I actually think that's a good one. I've always personally wanted to see Reyes versus Rakic, just because at one point people were feeling like those two represented the next generation of light heavyweights, just because they're both 6'5", they're massive for the weight class, and I know one's coming off a win, one's coming off a loss, but I'm actually down to see that Reyes versus Rakic fight. What do you think, man? What do y'all both think about that fight?
I think that's a great fight to make. Don't be surprised if within the next year or two, Reyes goes on a 2-3 fight losing skid and they give him his papers. That's all I'm saying. I think if he fights Rakic next, I think that's going to be, honestly, probably another knockout loss. And it's only going to go even more downhill from there. So
I mean, I will say this. Look, Reyes, he's an extremely talented athlete, but he is his own worst enemy. Like, anytime he opens his mouth, you're face palming, man, because it's like you cannot believe the shit that this guy is saying, you know, not just regarding the John Jones fight, but even going into this Jan Blachowicz fight. So, yeah, I agree with you. He doesn't have the intelligence to be a UFC world champion. But that doesn't mean that he can't beat some of these guys in the top 10. And Rakic has been impressive, and he's very big. And I feel like his last fight was a step in the right direction. But, you know, similar to Reyes, like kind of how you were mentioning early on in the show, Jahmar, you know, that Reyes has only had like 13 pro fights. I feel like Rakic is in a similar boat. They've both had less than, 15 pro fights. So they're both kind of young, which is what makes it interesting. So, Rob, you know, where would you line a fight between Rakic and Reyes?
To be honest, I disagree with Rockstar. I think I'd still favour Reyes in that fight. I won't write Reyes off quite yet. I still think he's a really good athlete. I still think he could improve. And I've never really rated Rakic that highly. I know he's still young, he can still improve. But off the top of my head, I'd slightly favour Reyes, maybe minus 150-ish.
Okay, that's a nice little conservative line. Now, would you favor him that if they fight in 2 months, or would you favor him that after, Reyes is off suspension, he's had some time to heal?
Yeah. It'd have to be a significant amount of recovery time after a loss like that.
And where does Yuri Prohaska fit in all this, Rob? Because I mean, I feel like honestly, I know he's only 1-0 in the UFC, but that one fight, I mean, went in there against a perennial top 5 guy, a former title challenger, and absolutely the only man in UFC history to knock him out cold. I feel like we can make a case that Yuri Prohaska might be the dark horse in this light heavyweight division, Rob.
I think you give him the loser of Glover Santos maybe to get him in that top 3 conversation. And then if he puts a spectacular performance in that, and then you'd have to get him in the title contendership at that point, surely.
For sure. So for all the fans listening, we truly appreciate it. Make sure y'all, obviously give this video a like and a subscribe and all that stuff. But if you got some questions for myself, for Rob Brown, for Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead, feel free to list those down below, and we'll be happy to answer them. And man, Brandon Royval, this kid, I am so impressed with this kid, Brandon Royval, because he went out there. What I always liked about him on the regional scene was that he overwhelms his opponents. He was saying in his pre-fight interview that his opponents are going to have to download the info, and it's going to just overwhelm their CPU. You know what I'm saying? He just goes out there and it's balls to the wall. I mean, there's a reason they call him Raw Dog, and it's not because he fucked someone's wife. You know what I mean? It's because this guy is going out there throwing everything but the kitchen sink, the spinning back elbows, the submission attempts, just nonstop. Now, his weakness is obviously his takedown defense, but he's very effective on the mat as well. Look, when he fights a wrestler, that's going to be one story, but against Kai Kara-France, who, lands 0.6 takedowns per 15 minutes and is just known for that overhand right, it turned out it was a good matchup for Brandon Royval, and he can overcome disadvantages by just going out there and just being as relentless as he is and overwhelming these guys, putting the pace on them. You have to fight Brandon Royval to beat him. Now, Jahmar, I know that's one weight class below you, but how impressed were you with a kid like Brandon Royval?
I'm not gonna lie, he definitely earned a fan tonight, gained a fan tonight. That guy, I've never even heard of him before. Saw that he was like a former LFA champion or something like that. That's awesome to see. That's kind of somewhat regional. But man, he looked great against Kai Kara-France, and from the start beat him up. That spinning it back elbow, that was very, very impressive, very accurate. It was a great fight, man. It was a really good fight, but Royval definitely had the advantage the entire fight. And that guillotine, oh my gosh, that was one of the tightest guillotines I've ever seen. I don't know if it's because, the guys are super skinny looking like skeletons, but the way he wrapped around his neck, and then when he locked that body triangle in, that was it, bro. That was the end of that.
Yeah, no, truly impressive. And I mean, you're talking about a guy in Kai Kara-France who, He's been in there with Raulian Paiva, who's one of my top flyweight prospects, and I personally thought Raulian Paiva won, but still, he got his arm raised. He was in there with Tyson Nam, who, you know, again, I thought Tyson Nam landed the more impactful shots of that fight, but, you know, he didn't throw enough, so Kai Kara-France got the win. But still, to have wins over guys like that, and then for Royval to just absolutely run through him was a beautiful thing to see. And Jahmar, I know you said this is the first time you heard of him. I think you might have seen him submit Tim Elliott not too long ago.
I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah, it was him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's very, very exciting. He actually fought a dude named Nate Williams, not our boy Nate Williams, a different Nate Williams, an LFA
guy.
Yeah, for the short guy. And like literally the fight starts out like he runs at him with a flying knee and then like gets like a flying triangle like to an armbar and like finishes the fight in like 20 seconds and like won the LFA title like that. Like the dude's a wild man. So it's awesome to see. And based on, you know, this division, he's already, you know, if you beat Kai Kara-France, let me look up the official rankings. You beat a guy like Kai Kara-France who was ranked. Hey Jahmar, hit that mute button for me, my man. You beat a guy like Kai Kara-France who was ranked number 7 at the time. Well, now you're moving up. Now you're taking a spot, and you look at all the guys that are ranked ahead of him. Well, now we're talking about the real killers. Now we're talking about, you know, the Joseph Benavidez, the Brandon Morenos, the Askar Askarovs, the Alex Perez's, the Alexandre Pantojas. Now I'm cool with all that, but I'd personally still like to take a step back and, you know, see him in there with Rogerio Bontor and see him in there with Matt Schnell, with Raulian Paiva, even that kid David Dvorak, who was very impressive. So there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, Rob, how do you feel about it? Because, like, okay, based off the rankings, if you're going to fight up, he's going to have to fight all those killers now. But, like, I feel like he's still a kid. He's still developing. Why throw him into the deep end right now? Like, let's let him get his feet wet a little more. What do you think?
So I was really impressed with that performance. He gave me like the flyweight version of Tony Ferguson vibes in that fight with the way he pressured. That was crazy pace he set. But rankings wise, who I'd give him next? I'll have a quick look at the rankings. Maybe someone like Formiga or Pantoja, just to give him a bit of a bump up. But he definitely.
So you want to take it there?
Yeah. Because I mean, he's ranked 9th, and underneath is Matt Schnell and Paiva who's out. Maybe Dvorak, but that's a step back at that point. So, I mean, maybe Formiga or Pantoja. Maybe Bontarin. Bontarin's one step ahead. Maybe someone like that. But after a performance like that, I think he should get someone maybe in the top 8.
Yeah, it's just like, for me, here's what I'm struggling with. It's not that I don't want to see these matchups, Rob Brown. What I'm struggling with is that this was like a perfect matchup for him here with Kai Kara-France. Just overwhelm France. You know firsthand, not just from recent times, but from even the Ultimate Fighter days. I know Rob Brown saw that Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France fight. We all know that Kai Kara-France doesn't like it when you put that pressure on him. So I felt like even though the line was plus 200 for Brandon Royval, here in hindsight, it was almost like the perfect matchup for him. I'm not convinced that he can get away with some of that kind of stuff against a Pantoja and against an Askarov. That's why I want to pump the brakes slightly. He's just a kid. This was the first fight he's had with a full training camp. You know, before that, he had a job. Now he's got 250K bonuses in the bank. Now he doesn't have to work anymore. So we're going to be seeing these massive leaps. And I feel like his finished product 100% can compete with the top 5, maybe even beat some of these guys. I just, still think he's kind of young, and I want to take it slow and let him get his feet wet and feel more comfortable out there. So you feel where I'm coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that the thing is that division's quite thin. Like Dvorak's coming off that good performance, and then Paiva's out, and then you've got Schnell and then Bontarin, and then after that, there's quite a big talent gap after that. So it's quite a thin division. So it's tough to pick an opponent. Maybe give him someone like Nam or Espinoza, and give him a slow build up. I'd be fine with that.
For sure. So Ketlin Vieira defeated Sajara Eubanks, and Ketlin is back. I'll be honest with you guys. I had to take a phone call during that fight, so I missed it. Anything you guys care to share about that 3-round fight? Rockstar, Rob, anything?
No, it was a terrible fight. It's not worth talking about. They should have clenched her against the cage, and it was kind of crap.
Honestly, same thing. Wasn't worth watching.
Moving on. So, catchweight bout, 150-pound catchweight bout between Hakeem Dawodu against Zubaira Tukhugov. Now, I had a bet on Hakeem Dawodu at plus 125 odds. I thought it should have been lined to pick him, and I think it played out like a pick him. But I slightly felt like Hakeem kind of, edged him in output. And I mean, if you look at the stats going into the fight, he does land more than twice the amount that Zuba does. But I will say this, man. When Zuba was throwing very, very fast, man. I mean, like some of those shots against other people, he's going to put some other people down. But we know the one big thing that Hakeem brings to the table is that technical prowess with his Muay Thai. So he had an answer. And I love how every single time that, Zuba would throw something big at him, Hakeem would always have, whether it's a kick return or some kind of counter, just some kind of answer back, because like, Jahmar, firsthand. I mean, you're a former IKF world champion. For those that don't know, a Muay Thai world champion, and now you're, undefeated in MMA as a pro. But in Muay Thai, one of the biggest things, bro, is those kick returns, because it's a point system. So when someone comes out there and lands a nice 1-2 up top, then they follow it up with that leg kick, the 1-2 chop. That if you get off on that kick return, you kick them back, you're getting those points back, Jahmar. So were you impressed with that performance by Hakeem Dawodu?
Absolutely, man. I mean, the other guy didn't really do much to me. I don't see how. I was watching some of the tweets on the screen. I didn't really see how he was winning 2 rounds to none. If I'm not mistaken on the tweets, like I said, by some celebrities or whatever. Yeah, man, I thought it was great. I loved the kick returns, bro. I loved them. I thought they were very on point, and it was catching the guy the whole time, as you could see. The guy I don't know if you guys saw his leg at the end, bro. It was so swollen too, right on the calf. He was kicking it right in the same spot the entire time. I thought it was great. I thought it was perfect.
No, it really was. And just to touch on the point you made, because it's a fantastic point. If you really look at if you put your glasses on, put that magnifying glass on and really look at the finite, those key details. What's the word I'm looking at? The finite details. Like basically, if you watch his fight against Julio Arce, when the fight starts off, he kicks him in that perfect spot that gets people limping, kind of like what Chito Vera did to Sean O'Malley. So once you start getting off on those kind of kicks, and he does it in the kick return kind of way, who's actually really good with his kick returns? Heavyweight Jairzinho Rosenstrike. He's got some beautiful kick returns, because for these traditional Muay Thai guys, that's how you get the points back. Because you'll see knockouts from time to time, but when they go to the scorecards, it's a very interesting scoring system. And kick returns are a massive thing. So the way he was able to just keep building off his past progress and take it to a step further, I'm pretty impressed with this kid. And Zubaira Tukhugov, man, very explosive with that left hook. His hands are extremely fast. He's got great footwork. He's got that Russian bounce. But man, speaking of Russian bounce, he tried to do the Russian coast in the 3rd round. And I think that's what cost him, man, because I low-key had it 1-1 going into that 3rd round, man. And then I thought that Hakeem Dawodu definitely took over that 3rd round. So I felt like the rightful guy won the fight. And, I'm excited to see what he does next. He's just such a meat and potatoes Muay Thai guy. But you love to see – one thing I was so impressed with, gentlemen, was his immediate separations from the clinch. He's got the urgency to swim for those underhooks and break off right away and get right back to work. So, he's not one of these guys that you pin him up against the fence, then he's going to throw up his hands in the air and be like, ref, he's just trying to hold me. Like, do you guys remember a fight between Christoph Jocko and Dave Branch back when Christoph Jocko was on his big run? And, it was this close split decision that could have gone either way, but there were some very frustrating things that every time Dave Branch would pin Krzysztof Jotko into the fence, instead of swimming for those underhooks, creating the separation, he'd throw his hands up in the air and, cry to the ref to separate them. Whereas Hakeem Dawodu, man, his instincts for the separation, for the disengagement is absolutely beautiful. And I feel like he's building off his prior success. And I feel like now we're seeing the best version of him, because Zubaira Tukhugov's no slouch. This is a guy that's been in the UFC for a long time, went to a split decision with Moicano in Brazil, and has definitely been putting in work in the UFC. And it's funny, there was a funny narrative going into this fight that guys with last names Av, OV is the last two letters of their last name, they're not going to lose decisions in Abu Dhabi. They're automatically going to win decisions in Abu Dhabi, which is total bullshit, because the last two times that Zubaira Tukhugov fought in Abu Dhabi went to a draw with Lerone Murphy and then lost to Hakeem Dawodu. But you guys remember my famous quote before Muslim Salikov fought Elijah Zaleski. I said, no guy named Muslim is losing a judge's decision in Abu Dhabi, and that turned out to be the case. But Zubaira's name is not Muslim. But look, all jokes aside, I felt like that was truly a big step in the right direction for Hakeem Dawodu. I'm very happy I cashed that plus 125, and I'm excited to see what he does next. So, Rob, what do you think about that overall performance? He didn't get clipped with too many big ones. He kept his composure, stayed on his game plan, and got the win.
Yeah, man, I was actually impressed with Tukhugov's striking earlier. I thought his boxing looked good. His hands looked a lot faster than I thought they would. But then obviously Dawodu started taking over, and then such beautiful work in the last half of the fight. Very impressive performance. A lot of fun fights for him.
And Rockstar, as a former Muay Thai world champion yourself, were there some things there where you were like, "Oi, boa, iso, ai"? Were you impressed, man?
Man, I was with my brother and some of his firefighter buddies, and I was making those exact noises, bro. And they kept on looking at me like I was a weirdo. And I just kept on telling them the same thing every time. You wouldn't understand. You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it. Like Joker, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah, that's funny as hell. Like, he lands a kick return, boy, and the guy's not even Brazilian, but inner jokes, between me and the Rockstar, one of my best friends. So great stuff by Hakeem Dawodu. Then let's talk about Brad Riddell. So this was a fight that, okay, so I picked Brad Riddell to win the fight. I didn't bet Brad Riddell. My bets for the evening were Costa, which lost, and then I took Dawodu and Klein. So I had a winning night, 1-2 underdogs. But the Brad Riddell fight. So I picked Riddell on the show, but like deep in my heart, I was like, he should not be a minus 330 favorite in this spot. Like, Lako is being underestimated, and it really did come down to the wire. It was a very close fight. So I still think Brad Riddell is an extremely talented guy. But again, when you talk about these kids with less than 10 pro fights, and I understand he's got the extensive kickboxing background, but MMA is a different sport, man. And also some of the regional footage from Brad Riddell, he's out there with these guys wearing rash guards in MMA fights. So, we weren't taking it too seriously. But I'll tell you what, guys, now I'm taking it seriously. And even though the line was extremely wide, and it wasn't a minus 330 type performance, so that might make people pump the brakes on a guy like Brad Riddell, I would actually put the line on the back burner and just look at the fact that he was taking on a guy in Lako da Silva who's had 25 pro fights, and is so much more experienced than him. I felt like Lako was being counted out. I almost felt like it was a dog or pass situation. I felt like he was a live dog, but again, credit to Riddell. You see these improvements every single time. And I feel like if you just give him the right fights, let him get that seasoning, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe a year from now, he can be a top 15 guy, Rob Brown.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with Silva in the first round. It's just his pace management, I think, let him down. He looked really physical. He was even out striking Riddell early. He looked really, really good. And then he's tired himself out, started gassing out, and then Riddell started ripping that body, and then it was over from there. But I think Silva's got might have some potential if if he fine tunes himself a bit and manages his pace a bit better. But yeah, like you said, Riddell, give him the right fights, give him the fun type of fights. The matchmakers know what to do with Riddell for now, and we'll see a few more fun fights from him, I think.
And Rockstar, did you get a chance to see that fight between Riddell and Silva?
Yeah, I did. It was a great fight, man. It was a great fight. I had Riddell winning pretty much the whole time, man. I told my brother, man, De Silva's, I could just tell just by the way he was fighting in the first round. He's kind of just like any other Brazilian, man. He's just going to get tired after the first or second round, extremely tired. And then he breaks. And that's exactly what happened. And Riddell capitalized.
Have you ever seen a Brazilian with good cardio? So Jake Matthews defeated Diego Sanchez, and man, I don't know if y'all saw that exchange between Matt Serra and that fucking weirdo fake guru, the guy that's riding Diego Sanchez's coattails here at the end of his career. But man, if y'all haven't seen that shit, I mean, should I go ahead and play the clip right now? I mean, that shit had me dying. Let me see if I can pull that shit up, because I know I tweeted about it earlier, and people liked the tweet and they started responding to it. They responded with the clip. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So just give me 1 second, you guys. For those that haven't seen it, because this Josh Fabia guy, man, it's sad to see people trying to take advantage of these fighters at the end of their careers, and that's exactly what happened. So hold on 1 second. Matt Serra. Okay, here we go. Damn, I got 223 likes on that tweet. All right. Here, I found it. Now I'm gonna go to screen share. All right, y'all can see?
Yep.
Yeah, man, I understand. So do me a favor. You don't know what we're talking about right now. I understand. I respect Diego. I don't know you too well. Right. I don't know the point you're trying to say. You're coming after me yet. From what I see with your training, I think it's silly, but I don't give a shit. Okay. All right. You're not my guy. You're not working my guys. Right. Good luck with Diego. I wish Diego the best. Right. You're with it. So if he wins, I'm sure you're going to get some acknowledgement. Well, I've been training a very long time, and that's not my point. My point is that when I'm being brought up and you don't even want to say my name, I don't do. How about this? Honestly, I don't even know you fucking. That's my. How about that? One of the many things that I love.
So, I mean, I think you'll get the point. This guy, he's just trying to get his name out there, try to get his 15 minutes of fame, try to get his nice little 10% cut, and who knows with the. Not to talk shit about the legend Diego Sanchez, but with the CT, maybe he's getting more than a 10% cut. Maybe he's getting a 25% cut. So it's just really sad to see that kind of shit. But I got to say one thing. I want y'all's opinion on this. Okay, so, and this is something that kind of Diego was talking about. So you guys remember at one point where like Diego was just like getting starched in the first round, like against Joe Lozon, against Matt Brown, against all these guys, and like his last few fights, like against like tough guys like Michael Chiesa, against Michel Pereira, even tonight against Jake Matthews, like I'm gonna be 100 with you guys, just like I always am. Like I was thinking like Jake Matthews first round knockout. I was thinking Michel Pereira first round knockout. I was thinking Michael Chiesa gets on top of him and pounds him out, and like he basically went to decision with 2 out of 3 of them. The other one he won a DQ. So not to give Mr. Fabia any credit, but like, is it simply a fact where Diego is just kind of fighting to survive? Should we give some credit to this fucking scam artist? Like, here's just my question, Rob Brown. Why hasn't Diego been getting knocked out in the first round these last few fights?
To be fair, though, tonight, Matthews drops him and then stayed in his guard. Like, he should have knocked him out in that third round. You remember he drops him really bad in that third round and then he stayed in his guard. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just a bizarre situation, isn't it? I mean, he's just running away, keeping his arms stretched out. Like, what's going on? Why is he still fighting? I don't know. It's just bizarre.
But like Rob, but like, okay, you're right. No debate. But here's my question: why are we getting to the third rounds with Michel Pereira, with Jake Matthews, with Michael Chiesa? Like, why are we even getting to that point? And that's not, again, to discredit the tough one season winner, a pioneer of the sport, a true legend. It's just like he was getting brutally finished for a while there, like all these fights, and now all of a sudden he's like surviving and not taking as much damage. So I'm just like curious what the deal is.
I think maybe the weight cut, because he actually took a few clean shots from Matthews tonight, and he's at 170. Maybe it's a weight cut, because at 155 he was getting slaps. But
Rockstar.
He's not running into punches anymore as much. He used to just literally run into punches, and now he's just running away.
So is he like evolving while he's declining? Is that what the deal is?
Well, it's the best. It's probably the best scenario in his situation. He's evolving to take less damage while still getting the same payday. So more power to him.
Yeah, Rockstar. What's your opinion on this?
He's evolving spiritually, not very physically, as you could see. He's got the dad bod going on right now.
Dude, you know what I gotta say though? Like, even in his interviews, like he's not like slurring as much as he used to and shit. Like, something's changed, and like I'm not sure what it is. Like, look, obviously he's not gonna make no run, and he's not gonna do any shit like that. But like I'm saying, like at one point it was looking so bad to where we were like, yo, Diego. But now it's like, not that I have hope for him, but like to me, him getting to the third round with these tough fighters is like a moral victory compared to like, you know, the betting line was minus 750 for Jake Matthews. We all thought, you know, one flying knee from Pereira, the fight's going to be over. We think one back take from Michael Chiesa, the fight's going to be over. So I got to give the guy a lot of credit for surviving, but the night belongs to Jake Matthews, so we can't take away from that. Another solid performance from Matthews. I mean, you know, I don't know what to do with him. Just keep giving him fights. I think that, you know, he's kind of going to stay in about the same spot as he's always been his entire career. So we'll just leave it at that. Now, guys, I'm very, very excited to speak about Ludovic Klein against Shane Young. You know, I bet on Ludovic Klein at plus 110 odds. And the only reason I got underdog money here is because no one knows who the fuck Ludovic Klein is. I mean, he's making his UFC debut. No one's ever heard of him. So I jumped on the tape like last week. And what I saw was like, because initially I wanted to bet Nate Landwehr to beat Shane Young. And the reason why was this: it's a completely different matchup than Ludovic Klein. The reason I wanted to bet Nate Landwehr is because Shane Young has a style where like he eats your best shots, then you start to slow down on him, then he tees off on you, you know, blah, blah, blah. But the thing with Nate Landwehr is he doesn't slow down, right? Like he's a guy that's been 5 rounds in Russia with Russians. So I was thinking that they're going to have, you know, this exciting 3-round brawl. You're giving me plus 150 odds. I'm going to take Nate Landwehr, who's going to be there the entire time. So that's where my head was with that. So then when the fight got canceled, I was really bummed out. But then I looked up Ludovic Klein and I was like, oh, this is not going to be a 3-round brawl. This is going to be a situation where Shane Young, you know, his style to eat these punches and then hope that you get tired so he can tee off on you. You don't eat clean high kicks. One does not simply walk through a clean high kick and the kind of shots that Ludovic Klein throws. So I was thinking this was going to be his first knockout loss, and that it turned out to be the case. So I got plus 110 odds. And again, the only reason I got underdog odds is because UFC debut, no one's ever heard of him. He should have been like a minus 200 favorite. Like, because like now his next fight, he's going to be a big favorite now that people know who he is. But prior to that, he was just some no name, you know, from some random regional scene. But like when you watch the tape, this is one of those spots that, you know what it reminded me of, guys? Back in the day, there was a fight between Paul Felder and Danny Castillo. And I know you guys remember that vicious spinning back fist knockout from Paul Felder against Danny Castillo. And now Paul Felder was like a plus 150, plus 160 underdog. And the only reason why is because no one knew who the fuck he was, right? Everyone knew Danny Castillo. I mean, it's Danny Castillo, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it just reminded me of one of those spots where like no one knows who the better fighter is. They've never heard of him. So they just ride the name, not name value, because not that Shane Young's a big name, but amongst the hardcore fans, we've seen him in the UFC 3 times, so everyone knows who he is. So it's like, oh, Shane Young versus some random newcomer? Yeah, let me take him. Whereas I watched the tape on Klein, I was like, yo, this guy can strike for real. And if Shane Young, you know, he's like kind of a human punching bag, walks forward, eats your shots, you do not walk forward and eat these shots. So I was very, very proud of that underdog play. It came through cashed. Rob, what were your thoughts on that fight between Klein and Young?
Yeah, man, that was probably the best bet on the entire card, I'd say. I thought Young would maybe, he had a shot to because he's always been known to have a granite chin. I thought maybe he'd extend the fight, maybe make it dirty, but that was just a beautiful knockout. Klein's a serious striker, and I'm very excited to see who he gets next.
Rockstar, did you see my boy Ludovic Klein?
Man, with that clean knockout, how could I miss it, bro? Shane Young,
yeah,
he thought he had it too. It was so funny.
Talk to us about it. What do you think, bro?
I thought it was well calculated. If I'm being honest, very pinpoint striking. That it was it the uppercut with the head kick?
Man, I saw so many fights I don't remember, but this is what I
might be getting them mixed up myself, but I know it was like a head kick though, regardless.
Oh yeah, head kick. Yeah.
And he put him to sleep.
My bad. I'll tell you what I do remember. Ludovic Klein goes out there, throws 3 body kicks in the first minute. Okay. And you could already see the bruising on the rib. And the reason I was so happy about that, and you know firsthand, Jahmar, because you're a kicker, and you know, actually your MMA debut, you knocked a guy out in 7 seconds with a head kick knockout. So you know firsthand when you're a kicker and you're trying to set up a high kick, you're not just going to go out there and fucking reveal all your cards and throw that high kick as the first strike and let them know, oh, that's what he's looking for. You're going to go to the body, try to get him to drop those hands, and then go up top. And that's what was beautiful about what Ludovic Klein did. Goes out there, 3 body kicks in the first minute. Start because, you know, those body kicks hurt, and that gets you to drop those hands because you want to block those kicks. And then he was like, oh, so now it's open. Boom, goes upstairs. Couple follow-up shots, fights over shortly after. First man in MMA history to knock out Shane Young. And Shane Young will be back. He's a very tough guy. He's going to have a lot of exciting fights. It's just this was a horrendous matchup for him because, again, like I was telling you guys, Shane Young is a guy that likes to eat your best shot and keep walking forward. And you don't just eat clean head kicks and keep walking forward. So this is one of my favorite bets of the year to get dog odds on a spot like that. And I hope we can keep capitalizing on, you know, many opportunities like that for years to come. So William Knight against Alexa Kamor. Now, I like William Knight. I know he's very green. I know he's got a lot of work to do, but the reason I like him is because when I saw him on Contender Series the first time, he was on there twice. You know, we can sit here, we can talk about his power, we can talk about his physique, we can do the whole bit, but what I'm most impressed about, gentlemen, is the fact that this is a guy that he's not going to quit. This is a guy that's going to be there until the bitter end. And the kind of heart, the kind of resolve that he has, he stays so calm, you know, especially for a guy with less than 10 pro fights. And you start to slow down on a guy like William Knight, you start to give up one dominant position against a guy like William Knight. And I mean, he will tee off on you. He will finish the fight and he'll go out there and win. And that's exactly what he did. And this fight was a lot more smooth sailing than some of his previous fights. So that was a big step in the right direction, especially against an undefeated fighter who was favored to beat him. So I liked it. We gotta take it slow. We gotta make sure he takes the right fights. But I feel like if he does that, not saying he's gonna, you know, be a future champ or anything, but I do think that he can stick around in the UFC for a long time and put on some exciting fights. It's just that he needs to take the right fights, keep developing, take it one step at a time. He's only been a pro for less than 2 full years, but I like the kid a lot. He's got the heart, so and the power too. So I'm excited to see what he does. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, like you say, very green, but yeah, he's dangerous. He's just any position you get him in, he's dangerous. He'll put on a few fun fights. At 32 years old, I'm not sure what his ceiling is. I mean, he's very, very open on the feet. But I was actually, like you said, I was impressed with his heart and his resolve. With a physique like that, you expect him to gas in like 2 minutes, but he fights through it, and he got a pretty decent win tonight.
Yes, he did. Jahmar, did you get to see William Knight?
I actually missed that fight.
All good. So, did you see any of the earlier fights, like Juan Espino?
I did see that one.
How often you see a schoolyard headlock in the UFC? That was pretty badass. Reminded me of like my boy Alexei Olenek. He did that to Krokop back in the day, that schoolyard headlock. So it's pretty cool when you see that. He's got some serious wrestling credentials from back in Spain, which is cool to see, guys from that part of the world with with serious wrestling, because usually in Europe, I don't hear about too many guys from Spain with serious wrestling, because there's another fighter from Spain in the UFC, Joel Alvarez, and it's actually the complete opposite. He's more so known for like opportunistic submissions off his back. He's kind of like in the early development stages of kind of like where Cheeto was when he first started his UFC career, but he's got a lot of physical tools. So I think that Joel Alvarez can win some fights down the line. But back to Juan Espino, man, I mean, goes out there, double leg passes, schoolyard headlock. I mean, that was beautiful, wasn't it, Jahmar?
I thought it was a great performance, bro. I mean, he kind of threw that guy around the ring. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely drowned him in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, gave him that tour of the octagon. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Hey,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Took him down and got him with the old headlock.
The case of Katami, is that what they like to call it?
The case of Katami.
So, Jahmar, let me ask you this. Is that considered a big man move? And the reason I ask that, because look, you're a bantamweight. Have you ever pulled off a schoolyard headlock? And I'm not talking about on the playground back in the day in Florida. I'm talking about on the jiu-jitsu match, on the jiu-jitsu mats. Like, you ever pulled off one like that? Because I feel like it's one that the big guys pull off more than anything.
More so than anything, yeah, it's usually the big guys. I pulled it off, I think, one time in my many, many years of training. So, and it was actually kind of sort of recent. And I think it was more so of an angling type of thing than a schoolyard choke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but back in Broward, Florida, we were doing it on the reg, right?
Every day.
So, Rob Brown, I mean, what kind of ceiling you see on this kid Espino? Because look, a lot of people going into this fight were saying shit like, "Oh, he's 40 years old, this and that." And the reason I didn't put any stock into it, man, is because it's like, look, if he was a bantamweight or a featherweight or a lightweight and he's 40 years old, okay, then it's a different conversation. But I think we all know, if you've been following the sport long enough, that these heavyweights get a second win in their late 30s and their early 40s. So I didn't hold the age against him, Rob.
No, and he looks like a serious athlete for his age. I mean, does he look 39? He's pretty damn lean for a legit heavyweight. He's huge as well. And I could see him getting a couple of rank wins. I'm not sure how he looks if he doesn't get people out there in round one on the ground, but yeah, he's a pretty serious athlete. He could get a couple good wins.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So now, before we get out of here, we got to answer some questions. So let's see what the fans got for us. Okay, so just give me 1 sec, and I'm gonna pull up these questions. So, okay. So John McDonald says, I wonder who Khamzat Chimaev is fighting. So word on the street is they're trying to set up this Wonderboy fight for him. But I heard Wonderboy is trying to pull the old I've never heard of him card, So either that means he wants no part of it, or either that means put a couple extra zeros on that paycheck and I'll take the fight type thing. So, because he's trying to be like, oh, I want guys ranked ahead of me like Leon Edwards and Jorge Masvidal. But it's one of those things where if they they can either not threaten him, but kind of like be like, well, if you don't take this fight, you're gonna have to sit out for 6 months to a year. They can go that direction. There's a lot of negotiation tactics they can do. They can force him to take the fight. There's a lot of things they can do. But right now, Steven is using the negotiation power of the whole I've never heard of him. He's ranked below me. What does this do for my career? Shit. But there's still but this is just negotiation. So there's a chance he still takes the fight. So they're trying to get the Stephen Thompson fight done. I also think they might try to get the Leon Edwards fight done. But if they get the Stephen Thompson fight done, Jahmar, I know you've been telling me the last few days that you like this kid Khamzat Chimaev a lot. What do you think about him versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson?
Man, I'm such a big fan of Thompson too. I mean, how could I not be? The whole point fighting style. It's very similar to mine. Very high fight IQ. But Chimaev is something else, man. He's definitely the now of the UFC. I feel it. Like, I'm hopping on the hype train right now, man. His power, his boxing seems pretty crisp. He's training with the right guys, I think in that matchup, he's not an idiot either, man. He's going to go in there. He's going to do what he has to do. Unlike Costa in the Israel Adesanya fight, he's going to take him down, drown him. Then if it goes back to the feet, maybe next round. Now Thompson's all tired. Boom. He's going to get I think Chimaev wins, man. I think he could finish Thompson. But if Thompson's listening, hey, still fuck with you, man.
Rob Brown, what's the opinion?
I don't know. We've not seen him face adversity. We've not seen enough for me yet to be confident against someone like Wonderboy. Like, what if he struggles with a range in the first couple of minutes and takes a few big shots? I don't know. I need to see more. I need to see more.
I mean, I need to see more too, but the thing is, based off what you have seen, because look, this is the example I like to use. Okay, yeah, I understand he only fought Rice McKee and John Phillips and Gerald, who's tough, but like the strike counts is like 88-2. Like it's not like he's edging a split against these guys. He's absolutely running through them. So we can make the same argument, because I remember back in the day when John Jones fought Shogun. It's like, well, Shogun, he beat Rampage. He fucking, won the Pride title, won the the UFC title. He's beat Machida, did all these fucking things. What the hell has John Jones done? Oh, he beat Stephan Bonner and Ryan Bader. But like, sometimes that shit doesn't matter because one day these guys do rise to the occasion. So it's like, do you think, based off what you've seen, that Khamzat's able to rise to the occasion against a guy like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? Rob Brown.
Well, Ian Heinisch knocks GM3 out. I'm on the train, but I'm not totally 100% full steam ahead yet. Like, I need to just see a bit more. But I'm hoping he rises to the occasion. I'm hoping he becomes a big star. But I do need to see more.
I can always pick you up at the next station stop, Rob. I got you, because I'm head of the train right now, man.
If he finishes Wonderboy, I'll be the driver.
Wonderboy lost to Woodley twice, right?
Touche.
So real quick, Rockstar, I know you're gonna like this question. Do you guys think John Jones or Khamzat is more dangerous for Mr. Israel Adesanya?
Well, are we talking prime John Jones?
No, right now, 2020.
Man. All right, so now I'm going to say I need to see a little bit more, man. I'm going to need to see a little bit more from Khamzat. Based on what I've seen, though, oh, man, that's a hard one. That's a really hard one. You're talking about a guy that, like, you know how those Russians get, man. They drown you when they get on you. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I need to see more of Khamzat, but at this point, I think he has that type of wrestling. That's that style, definitely. But that pressure, who knows? I have to see him against maybe a little bit higher level of an opponent. You know what I'm saying? At 185, too, we're talking about. we're talking if we're talking about 185, I think Khamzat's more of a threat. Obviously, he's more of a threat to Israel. Just because John Jones at 185, let's be serious, that ain't happening. Now, if we're talking 205, it's a different story. You know what I'm saying? I guess we're all just talking about weight classes at this point.
Fair enough. I personally got to roll with the GOAT, John Jones, but that's no disrespect to Khamzat because I think he's got a very bright future. Cameron Williams says, thank you so much for your predictions. Almost $1,200 up on a $13 bet. Damn, bro, what was that $13 bet? I'm happy to hear we came through for you, man. That's fucking badass. Alonzo says, Jan Blachowicz has one of the best resumes in the UFC. Latifi, Cannonier, Krylov, Rockhold, Jacare, Corey, Reyes. Yes, he is a total beast. Mikhail Bridges says he wants Reyes versus Yuri Prohaska. I'm down with it. Say less, my friend. JJ says he wants Reyes for Smith. My boy Johnny Walker called out Smith, so he's got dibs right now. But the reason he wants Reyes for Smith is because he wants to get Reyes back on track. I feel you, and he would definitely get back on track against Anthony Smith. I think we can all agree on that. But Johnny Walker got dibs, and I'm more intrigued by the Johnny Walker fight because it's like I know without a shadow of a doubt that Dominic Reyes is beating Anthony Smith. But the Johnny Walker fight, I feel like it could go either way. I feel like Johnny could get slept. I feel like Johnny could sleep him. It's like Johnny Walker's like the KO or bust in round one guy versus the comeback kid in Anthony Smith. So that's why I like that fight. John McDonald says he'd like to see Rakic versus Yuri Prohaska. I like that fight as well. Okay, here's a good question. Chris Hames wants to know, what is Brandon Royval's ceiling? Now, Jahmar, you're a bantamweight. He's a flyweight, but you never know. I mean, the kid's big for flyweight. One day he could be in your division too. But what do you think the ceiling is on a kid like that?
I think, honestly, let's just start off on a smaller platform. I think this guy could be the flyweight champion based on what I saw him do tonight. I mean, what poses more of a threat to the current champion at flyweight right now? It's that pressure, the same pressure he brings on. Who's going to back down first? That's what it comes down to, you know? So I think he definitely could win that flyweight championship. And I think he can hold it down for quite a bit too. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, if he went to bantamweight, now we're talking a different ball game now. We're talking a completely different ball game. This guy's he's too skinny to be at 135, bro. Way too frail. You know what I'm saying? And even if he put on weight or whatever, got ready for 135, still he's not. I don't see him being big enough, if that makes sense. I know he's 5'9", he's a tall guy, but his body frame,
Skinny.
It's just skinny, bro. It's just skinny.
Yeah.
No discrediting though.
But look, when you say future champ, I mean, you know, Davis and Dice Dugea, I mean, the guy hits like a fucking lightweight. So, you know, I think he needs a couple more fights before we talk like that. But do you think his finished product can compete with God of War Figueiredo?
Well, let me just say, I don't think he should be getting a title shot right now. Of course.
Yeah, agreed.
But could you repeat your question one more time? I'm sorry.
No, just about his ceiling, about him potentially fighting Davis and Dice Dugea Figueiredo.
Like, how far is it? Or
yeah, like how far can Royval take this shit?
I think he could take it, definitely. What is he now ranked? He's not in the top 5, but almost, right?
Yeah, like 7 or 6.
Okay, yeah. I think he's about, like, I'd say 3 fights away from a title shot. If 3 consistent wins, of course. You know? I think a good, I don't know the flyweights like that too much, of course, but I think one person he should definitely fight, maybe as a title eliminator, air quotes, because, you know, if Benavidez wins this, he ain't fighting Figueiredo again. Not because the UFC won't give it to him. He's got PTSD at this point. So
yeah. No, I feel you. Hey, Rob, what's Royval ceiling in your eyes?
Right now, it depends on the matchup. Like in the top 5 guys who can hit hard, he's going to struggle with. He's too defensively open to strikes. Like if he tunes up his defense and he gets a bit more defensively responsible with that pressure and that size and that pace, I think he can make waves. But right now, like I think a guy like someone like Moreno or someone that can box him up and land clean on his shin, I think he'll struggle with. So I think he's got some steps to go yet, but he's got potential.
Martial arts fan says Royval got caught. He needs to work on his defense. I mean, let me say this. What's Kai Kara-France known for? He's known for that big overhand right. So, I mean, Kai Kara-France landing an overhand right in a fight, I don't think it's that big of a deal. To me, if anything, Royval ate it. But, yeah, the thing is, when you have such a wild style, there's risk and reward. I mean, you're going to leave these openings. So, does he need to tighten things up? Yeah, but that might also take away from – the wild, aggressive, and unpredictable, style that he brings to the table. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Jahmar, where do you stand on this?
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
What? I missed what you said.
Dang. Hold on. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, man. I mean, yeah, he has one of those styles, man, where he presses forward so much. You're familiar with this guy, Warren Thompson, all sword, no shield, right? This guy has a similar style to that, but a lot more accurate. You know what I'm saying? So his shots count. Does that make sense?
By the way, Jahmar is referring to a former K1 striker, Warren Thompson, who's actually a heavyweight. But what he's saying is a killer be killed type guy.
Basically, yes.
But the thing is, it's like, I don't know if I want to say Royval's killer be killed. Like, when I think of killer be killed, I think of like, do you guys remember like Thiago Silva? Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, either he's gonna knock you out or he's gonna get knocked out. Whereas like Royval's out here like trying like kind of low percentage shit, but he's making it high percentage. Like, dude, you saw him fucking go for a omoplata and a go-go plata in this fight and then finish with a guillotine. Like that's what we're dealing. And he landed a spinning back elbow. Like, that's what we're dealing with this kid in Royval. So I feel like it's kind of a different style than the killer be killed. It's more of like, it's almost like a Yair Rodriguez at flyweight type thing, more to me. You feel me? He takes a lot of risks on like moves that not a lot of people are willing to go for, if that makes sense.
But it pays off.
Exactly. High risk, high reward. You know what I'm saying? No guts, no glory. So, Robbie Brown, what do you think, man?
Sorry, about Royval?
Yeah, about just his like, high risk type style.
Yeah, I think at flyweight he's got more margin for error, hasn't he? So he can take more risks at flyweight. It depends on who he's fighting. Like, if he's fighting someone like Figueiredo, he can't fight like that. That's the only thing. But against certain guys, he's going to break a lot of guys with a pace and style like that. But I don't. It's just Davison. I don't see anyone beating Davison. That's the only thing. He's too powerful at that weight.
So Dane says, no talk of Glover, 4-fight win streak, just demolished Anthony Smith. I know he's fighting Santos, but I believe if he wins that fight, he should be next contender for the title. We did talk about Glover, but I think you might have asked this question before we talked about Glover, but all of us respect Glover so much. And I'll tell you right now, he goes out there and he finishes Thiago Maeda Santos, and he is right up there in the conversation. No questions asked. So definitely a good question, Dane. All right, let's see what else y'all got for me. John McDonald says he wants to see a matchup between Brandon Royval and Tyson Nam. See, that's interesting, because what I like about that is that Royval might actually have to be a little bit more careful, because how dangerous and vicious the counters are of a guy like Tyson Nam. So while Royval is going to be, outlanding and outscoring the entire fight, there just might be that one point where he's susceptible to that big counter shot. And when Tyson Nam gets you, he gets you. So I mean, Rob Brown, do you like a matchup like that?
Yeah, that's actually a really good shout. I actually really like that fight. Good star dynamic.
Rockstar?
I agree. I think that's a good fight to make right now.
Yep. Carlos says Jan Blachowicz is definitely the deserved champ. I agree. Mikhail says Hakeem the Dagestani hunter Dawodu. And it's funny, for those that don't know the context, back in the World Series of Fighting, Hakeem Dawodu actually beat Magomedov twice. No, first time was a draw, but everyone thought he won. Then the second time he stopped him. So he's got a history. And he was actually Zubera Tukhugov's teammate. So that's an interesting thing. John says Tukhugov stopped fighting in the third. You know, it's not that he stopped fighting. He did something that we like to refer to as the Russian coast. You know, they feel like they can't lose decisions no matter what they do for some reason. They got so much pride. So it's an interesting thing. Anton says Paulo tried to play the distance game with Izzy. Dude's fight IQ is in serious question. And tonight's performance was in serious question, but I just don't want to discredit Izzy, how amazing he went out there and just made that look easy. Like, I mean, I know Rob wasn't surprised, but I was surprised. Like, I'm not surprised Izzy won. That's not, you know, a surprise to me. I'm just surprised at how easily he handled it. Didn't take like I said earlier in the show, one doesn't simply fight Paulo Boachinia and walk out without a scratch on your face. So just speaks volumes to the greatness of Izzy Adesanya, and the kid's going places, you know what I mean? So I'm excited about that. John McDonald says Leron Murphy has a lot of potential. Rob, you care to comment on that? I know he's from the UK just like yourself.
Yeah, he's looked really good recently. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him. Definitely. He's got some work to do still, but that last performance was very impressive. And even against Tukhugov, that was a short notice fight, wasn't it? So, yeah, definitely got a lot of potential for sure.
So, Michal Bridges says Dan Ige versus Hakeem Dawodu next. Do y'all think that Hakeem is ready for that, or do you think that's too big of a step up in competition? Because that's already jumping right into the top 10. Do you want to see that? Do you want to see him get a couple more fights in first, or are you ready to see that right now, Rob? Dan Ige versus Hakeem Dawodu.
Think it's a bit early next. I'm just looking at the rankings. Ige is still 10th. I think you can give him like just breaking into the top 15. I think that's just slightly too much of a big step up for now.
And real quick, because in his pre-fight interview, Hakeem said that after he wins this fight, he's got a top 10 opponent in mind. So does anyone know? I didn't catch who he called out. Does anybody know who he called out for that top 10 opponent? If you do, just let me know in the comments, and then we can discuss that fight. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I mean, Jahmar, you got any opinion on Dan Ige versus Hakeem Dawodu?
I think it's a tad bit too early. Maybe one or two more fights for Hakeem, and then we could talk about Dan Ige.
Carlos says, "Fuck yeah, Rockstar Brazos all do that." I don't know what he's talking about, but he's giving you props. So shout out to
yeah, bro. Hey, Rockstar shit, man. I don't know what you're talking about, but fuck it.
JJ says Diego said he's got a 4-fight contract. It is irresponsible to give him 3 more. A 4-fight contract. Was this the first fight on his 4-fight contract, or was this the last one? I mean, we don't know what the deal is, but listen, I mean, use him to build up our up and coming prospects. You know what I'm saying? That's how this game works. You know how the fight game works. This shit is brutal as hell. And sometimes these guys don't know when to say when, especially when you got that fucking fake guru weirdo following you around everywhere. So you already know what the deal is. All right, guys, we're almost done. Just a couple more fan questions to get out the way. And then, you know, we truly appreciate everybody joining us here. My boy Carlos said Klein is good. Klein is good, man. That's why I was really happy that I got in on that before everyone noticed, and at dog odds, you know, the line flipped for a reason. So yeah, I like that kid a lot. Just that style matchup was perfect for him. Martial arts fan agrees that Klein is pretty good. Ludovic Klein, I like him. JJ was what was Kamer's game plan? I mean, it's not really about what his game plan was. It's just that he got out-muscled, out-willed, just got beat by a superior athlete. I think it was pretty questionable. I don't think there were any adjustments he could have made to win that fight. He was just simply outgunned bell to bell. So it was really one of those cases. Okay, JJ says Diego Sanchez versus Robbie Lawler. How's that sound and who wins? I'd probably lean Robbie Lawler. Because like Neil Magny, like I know he made him look horrendous, but like Neil Magny, you know, has got like an 80-inch reach and like was mixing in wrestling, and you know, Diego Sanchez is going to run around all over the place. So I would favor Robbie. Robbie Brown. Who you favor there?
Lawler would knock him out within 2 minutes.
Okay, and Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead. Diego Sanchez, Robbie Lawler. Who you got?
I mean, I would say the same thing, but I've been saying that for his last 3 fights.
True. I know, right? Like Diego's been surviving. I don't know what it is, man. So Nick Rodriguez says, is this it for Cadiz? I mean, in the UFC, if he wants to come fight in the NFC and test out some of our up and coming prospects, we'd be more than happy to fight him. I mean, we'd be more than happy to have him. So definitely give us a call and we'll set him up. Jahmar, who do we have any? Oh yeah. What about Jahmar? What about Cadiz Ibrahimov versus Bolo? You know what I'm saying, Jahmar?
Oh, we'll set him up all right.
Yeah, we got the perfect fight for Cadiz Ibrahimov in the NFC. And for Jeff Hughes, what about Jeff Hughes versus Larry Green, Jahmar? I know you know what I'm talking about.
That's actually a really good fight.
So we got the perfect fights for Jeff Hughes and Cadiz Ibrahimov in the NFC. So I'm very excited about that. All right, almost done with these questions. It just did that thing where it scrolls me all the way down, so I got to scroll back up. So fellas, we fading Bobby fucking Knuckles now. Where do you think Khabib is at mentally for his next fight? I'll just say this: he ain't gonna miss weight by 5 pounds like Zubaira Tukhugov did. I think that despite the tragic passing of his father and his mentor and just a pioneer of MMA in that area of the world, Khabib's a guy that's ultra focused no matter what the deal is, and I think he's going to show up, win, lose, or draw. So I ain't worried about, Khabib ain't missing no weight by 5 pounds. You know what I mean? This ain't Zuba, so I ain't too worried about him in that respect. I'm more so worried about how does he deal with, these shots by Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje's got a D1 wrestling background. Can he keep the fight standing? Can he stuff these takedowns? That's what intrigues me so much about a fight like that. All right, almost getting there. Carlos says Reyes was cocky as fuck and got way ahead of himself. Why bring all your brothers into camp? They're going to tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. So I agree with the first part. I slightly disagree with the second part. I agree. Yeah, he was overly arrogant, still talking about how he got robbed, still talking about how, laughing off the Blachowicz fight. But sometimes you need the people close to you because, the people close to you aren't always going to be yes, man. Sometimes the people close to you are going to tell you like what you need to hear when everyone else is kissing your ass. Like I know like my boy Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead, the first fighter I've ever managed, one thing, yeah, like we are like, he is one of my closest friends, but one thing he can rely on with me is that I'm not going to bullshit him. I'm not going to kiss his ass. I'm going to tell him exactly what the deal is. That's why he knows that he can rely on a guy like me. So I'm hoping in Reyes's case, that's the same thing, that they're just going to be straightforward with him. But if that's not the case, and if they are indeed yes, man, then it's just an unfortunate situation. So I really don't have enough insight on their camp to answer it, but it could be two different things. Like it could be like the me and Jahmar situation where I'm so brutally honest with Jahmar, because I care about the kid. Or it could be a case where you got everybody blowing smoke up his ass, telling him how great he is. Oh, you don't even have to run your miles, It's Jan Blachowicz. You lost to Pat Cummins. You don't even have to wake up early for this fight. You can skip your meals. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, yeah, it's one of those things. So, Rob, you got an opinion on this, man?
Nah, not really. Yeah, like I said, it was just a bit overrated, I think, for the Jones performance, and then people ignored the Vulcan performance a bit too much and overrated him a little. and he needs to go back to the drawing board, and we'll see how he rebounds.
Rockstar, anything to add?
Nothing at all, man. I've been saying this the whole time. That's it.
Mihal Bridges says they're going to sacrifice Magny to Khamzat. Yeah, I mean, if Wonderboy is playing his cards smart, he's doing the who? I've never heard of him. How do you pronounce it? Khamzat? Like, who? Like, no, I want to fight Leon Edwards or Masvidal, who I already beat. I don't know who this guy is. You know what I mean? So he's doing that. He's doing that whole bit. So yeah. All right. Last few questions, and then we're gonna get out of here. We truly appreciate everybody's support. It's been awesome. It's been awesome having you guys on. And hold on one second. You talk funny. Who talks funny? I talk funny. I appreciate that, my guy. I want to hear what you talk like that. I want to hear what you talk like. You want to join us right now and show off your.
It's probably me.
But
pick on the British guy.
No, but we like how you talk. I want to hear him talk. He should join us right now. We should hear your pretty voice, and let's see what you sound like. You know what I mean? So John McDonald says John versus Francis or Stipe is intriguing. Yeah, exactly. I want to see John versus Francis. I want to see the Francis versus Stipe rematch. You know I'm going to go to the grave and take Francis over Stipe again. I know I got burned badly the first time. Not going to get burned badly the second time. Knock on wood. So we'll see. We'll see exactly what the fuck happens when they rematch down the line. So I'm excited. My boy says Robbie Brown sounds like he's smoking that gas. Well, I mean, I hope he's smoking that gas, because if he's smoking anything less than that gas, then we're going to have to ask him to leave, because over here it's exotic or nothing. You know what I mean? So I know my boy Rockstar agrees with that too. Ain't that right? Hey, by the way, if y'all never heard the 420 edition of Half the Battle, me and my boy Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead not only talked about our favorite strains, but we talked about our favorite fights to watch while using our favorite strains. So y'all got to check that out. Just go back to the 420 edition of Half the Battle. Very, very good episode. It's one of those timeless episodes of Half the Battle. So you'll definitely have to check that out. All right, guys. Well, I think that's about to cover it. So we truly, truly appreciate everybody's support. I want to thank today's guest, Rob Brown Betting, for the first time. My boy Rob from the UK on here. You know, this is a guy that's had my back for a long time. I've had your back for a long time. I don't give a fuck what no one says about my boy, because I know what kind of dude he is, and he is a real dude. So much love to my boy Rob. Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead, you know, one of my best friends, the first fighter I've ever managed, first fighter I've ever sponsored. And we're not going to talk about our jiu-jitsu sessions quite yet. We'll keep that between us. But no, these are my homies. So Rob Brown, any message for the fans before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, pleasure to be on. It's nearly 9 a.m. where I am right now, but these are the sacrifices we make. It was an honor to be on. I've been a fan of you for a long, long time. We've talked for a long time. And yeah, thanks, guys. And pleasure to meet you as well, Rockstar. Cheers, guys.
Pleasure to meet you, brother.
Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead, my boy, 21 years old, killing it, making that pro debut soon, living life like a champion. Man, what's next for you, my guy? And anything else you want to tell the fans?
Every day we're getting better, 1% better every single day, brother. Working on a championship mindset.
That's right. What would Peter Yan do? So you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And real quick, you want to plug your social media for the fans?
You guys can follow me at the Rockstar MMA on Instagram and Twitter. It'd be pretty easy to find me. I have the best header on Twitter, and my Instagram's pretty lit too. Yeah, man. Check me out. Message me, guys. Like my stuff. Do all that. I'm pretty interactive, so hit me up anytime.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much to both my guests, Rob Brown Betting. Check him out. The UK's #1 MMA handicapper, Jahmar the Rockstar Whitehead, the Southeast #1 bantamweight, and just wait till he goes pro. Big things coming soon. You guys know me, Daniel Levy, host of Half the Battle, owner of Best Fight Picks, NFC commentator, blah, 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 all the other shit I do. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. What's up?
I have one more thing to say before
What's
I
up?
head out.
What's up?
Shout out Best Fight Management too, man.
Hey,
Making the dream come true, man.
you know they don't know shit about Best Fight Management, but just keep your eyes peeled because we're doing big things over here, discovering great talent, giving these guys the right fights, bringing them up the right way, and we'll be seeing him in the UFC very, very soon. So I'm very excited about that. Just keep living life like a champion. Hashtag what would Peter Yan do? So very excited. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Shout out to Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz and Ludovic Klein and Hakeem Dawodu and everybody else on the card, man. We truly love the sport. We truly love our fans. Thank you guys so much again. Make sure you follow me at Best Fight Picks. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. We will be back next week to break down the next card. We truly appreciate it. You can tail my plays at bestfightpicks.com. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.